The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, yesterday announced the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Usman Ododo, winner of the keenly contested November 11th, 2023 Kogi State Governorship Election. According to the announcement made by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC returning officer for Kogi State, Johnson Urama, Ododo polled 446,237 votes to defeat Murtala Ajaka of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, who came second with 259,052 votes, while Dino Melaye, candidate of the People's Democratic Party, scored 46,362 votes.
Ahmed Usman Ododo of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Thank you very
much. Ododo is a former Auditor General of local government in Kogi State under Yahaya Bello and was anointed by the governor, who is finishing his 2 terms of 8 years in office.
Meanwhile, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the Kogi State Governorship Election, Senator Dino Melaye, has called for the cancellation of the election due to irregularities that marred the election. He alleged that results sheets manifested even before the commencement of the accreditation of voters on Saturday in all 3 senatorial districts. Therefore, the votes should not be allowed to stand, he said. He described the exercise as shameful and unhealthy, regretting that the Independent National Electoral Commission has not learned any lesson to ameliorate and palliate the problem they created for the democratic process during the general elections in the country. Recall that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced fresh elections in 9 wards in Uguri-Magogo local government area of the state due to cases of irregularities, and the returning officers said the final results were not affected. According to the commission, the fresh election will be held next Saturday, November 18th, 2023.
Now let's bring in Public Affairs Analyst Katch Ononuju to discuss further on these developments. Good morning, Mr. Ononuju. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Mixed reactions, as always, to the elections over the weekend. There's, of course, those who are celebrating, and there's those who are, asking that the whole elections be cancelled. What are your thoughts? I was saying earlier that it doesn't seem like we've moved so far from elections in 2007 or 2011 with the elections that we're conducting in 2023. Not very much has changed.
Well, I will tell you, the elections are reminiscent of the election in Lagos itself. If President Tinubu got into office the way he did, I don't think without any changes being made with the personnel dramatists like the INEC personnel and chairman still in place and Tinubu there at the top, I don't think it will be very easy for you to get people to change from copying what they have seen in Lagos State and what they have seen that the courts and the INEC have seemed to permit it. So I'm not very surprised that the elections came that way and that it was very, very messy and violent. But then that simply tells us that we have a lot of work to do.
All right, the numbers are very interesting. Let's look at in Kogi State. The winner polled 446,237 votes. We had the first runner-up Ajaka following with 259,052 votes, and Dino Melaye with 46,362 votes. I would say that the numbers were quite shocking, especially for Dino Melaye pulling such low votes, and has now called that the election be cancelled, referring to it as shameful, and are saying that INEC hasn't learned anything from the chaos or the mess it had caused in the February 2023 elections. What are your thoughts on Dino Melaye's quote-unquote performance at the elections and his call for the election to be cancelled?
Well, for Dino Melaye, there were some fundamentals you have to understand. One, Dino did not mobilize when he believed that conditions didn't seem to favor him, so he did not mobilize his returning his agents to boots. So that's one. Two. Secondly, Dino also comes from the Okun section of the state that didn't have the numbers. The numbers are with the Egalap area where the SDP candidates seem to come from, and of course, then the incumbent where the struggles go to help, which is who you have now called Mr. Dodo. So I am not surprised. I did not see Dino as part of the story. There's no way Dino will be in it. It's never been that way. It's never been a three-way contest. It has always been whoever is running versus whoever the galas put up. And I think that's what it is. I don't think Dino was a contestant going into the election.
Right. How do you foresee this impacting his political career going forward? I mean, he's not new to the scene. Maybe on the government, he's not new to the political scene. Do you foresee that he'll take a break from this? And what do you make of what the legal implications of his calling for the cancellation of the election would be? Do you think that this call would carry any weight? And what's the implication on his career?
Well, I don't think anything will happen to his career. Dino's career has been always this way. He didn't run simply because he thought he would win. No, he ran because he was able to gain the mind share from the top figures in the PDP currently, and that was how he now took the ticket of the PDP. Now, taking the ticket of the PDP is a different thing from getting the divided states to listen to you. Because if you checked how it is, the SDP candidate got what he got because he came from the majority Egala section. And of course, the man who has been announced is the person the incumbent was actually rooting for, who was rooting for Dino himself. So the minute he did not himself mobilize his agents because he believed, as at 4, that the things, the underhands were very clear to him, that simply meant he wasn't in the contest. So that does not diminish Dino, who we know. Dino is there available for you and also for the party leaders who take him seriously at every time when he says he wants something. So I don't really think anything will change who Dino is. Dino has been a man whose life has depended on the reactions to him from the way he seems to serve whoever he's serving at any given moment. So I don't see any difference. For those who didn't understand, yes, they might be asking questions, but nothing changes. Dino is Dino, and the music will simply go on.
Also, share your thoughts on Imo State. Hope Uzodinma, of course, as he's popularly called the Supreme Court governor. He didn't do very well in 2019, but of course in 2023 now has won by a landslide. Is this arguably because of his performance as governor in the last 4 years that has made the Imo State electorate to give him that many votes, more than 500,000 votes? Or is there some other aspects of it that we maybe aren't seeing? Of course, looking at the people he also contested against.
As you rightly put it, Hope Uzodinma is the incumbent. Hope Uzodinma is also a candidate sponsored by the ruling party. Yes, going into the election, I really didn't see the contest because all the 3 candidates were considered to be character-wise the same thing. There was no differential. Hope was simply a poster boy for the other candidates. There was no differences. You couldn't pick him away from those people. So he was like, you were like dealing with the same 10 and 10 pence. There was no difference. So the people simply believed there is no need to fight too hard. Allow Hope to finish his 2nd term. And then the fight will now move to gaining mindshare to force Olo to allow the equity story that Hope has been banding about to actually take effect to benefit people in Owerri. That's how we expect it, because Hakim has done a term for Okigwe zone. I hope he's from Olo, where Rochas came from, where Achikudenwa came from, and where people just think there is no need to fight. Let us just let him go, so that when he finishes his 4 years, he will now, in line with his promise about the Charter of Equity, allow the governorship to now come to Owerri zone. But don't also forget, they may have come down for the Charter of Equity to be seen by Hope to be something that's a fait accompli that he must do. The Charter of Equity, it is a promise. If it is not backed and enshrined in law, inordinate politicians would not respect it. But then it would now be something for which the governor will be held to and said, you said if we do not fight you, you will make sure that the Charter of Equity, as you have promoted, will make you allow the governorship to shift from Olo, where it was, from Rochas before you took it, to now come over to Owerri zone. I think that is enough for people to understand why there was no much fight. They allowed Hope to go, let him complete the second term, so that the Charter of Equity.
Okay, we seem to have lost Mr. Ononuju there. If you can still hear us. Well, I mean, I was interested. Okay, I think we can hear you now. Kindly go ahead, Mr. Ononuju.
I'm here with you. Yes, the Charter of Equity is the main trick with which Hope Uzodinma went to the election with. He promised people of Owerri zone, if you do not fight me during this my second term, I will make sure that you will now gain the governorship after I finish my fourth term. So it is now over. And then that's the first thing we did. I got the phone call and they said, look, Dr. Katch, you also have to put your voice to it so that he respects his promise of Charter of Equity. So that's what you will see. You now have the two main blocks in Owerri, which is Owerri zone and Mbise zone, trying to gain Hope's mind share for him to be able to implement, as he said, the Charter of Equity, which he says, if you don't fight me, you let me win easy, I will remember that you did not fight me. And in that regard, I will make sure that since I'm from Olo and I finish my second term, you from Owerri will now gain the benefits of assuming that governorship. So it's simply a game of those two blocks now playing to him. And from one of the blocks, you have Owerri and Ikeduru, and the other blocks, you have Mbise. So for now, I think the lobbying and the dances will now continue for Hope now to see who are the fine brides that he must give up to, because honestly speaking, it is time that the governorship leaves Oluzon and go to other parts of the state for the sake of inclusion. We cannot be preaching for inclusion federally, and when we go back home in Imo State, we forget that there's a need to include other people. So what we're now playing this is the result that is premised on the promise of the Charter of Equity in Imo State. It is now the onus on Hope Uzodinma to respect that which he has promised, that he will allow Owerri zone, who have not had it since from the days of Chief when I'm doing only 9 months before the military overthrew that dispensation, for them now to rule. So I will call this a result forced by Hope's promise of the Charter of Equity.
What is the strength of Hope's promise, regarding the Charter of Equity? And would you say that the Charter of Equity is in the best interest of the people of Imo State? Now, I hear you as regards inclusion and ensuring that power goes round and it's not just centered in one area or one local government. It needs to go round. We hear you on that. But in the first term of office is usually when we see governors putting their best foot forward to ensure that they, quote unquote, impress the people and convince them for the opportunity to vote them in for a second term in office. Hope Uzodinma's first term in office, some people would argue that it wasn't the best term as a governor. There were salaries that were being owed. In fact, the week before the election, they were proposed, they were meant to go on strike, which is what led to the conflict that led to the assault of the chairman of NLC. So if in the first term of office, the people of Imo State would argue that they didn't get the best of governorship, what are the odds or what are the chances that there is anything he has to lose that would make him sit up and give the people of Imo State decent governorship in this second term?
I will tell you that Hope's first term was clogged by a lot of different interpretations. But if you look at it in terms of real performance, I don't think any governor had performed better than Hope Uzodinma if you go back the past 20 years. Because what you look at now is, despite the rhetorics, it's what you have on the ground. The infrastructure, the quality of road that Hope had done from Owerri to Olu, from Owerri to Okigwe, and from Owerri to Umuahia. Those roads are unmatched. Those roads are only to be seen if you go back to the times of M.I. Okwara and then Sam Mbakwe. But since the Democratic era, none of these governors have done any road of that quality. If you look at even the drainage itself, the way the drainage was able to cancel the problem we had in places like Ogbonmwan town, places like Angara, places like Akabo, places like even Owerri, that when it rains for 30 minutes, everywhere will be blocked because Russia foolishly removed the drainages that were in place by Mbakwe. Hope brought those drainages back, very deep drainages. Plus what he also did in places like Dig Tiger, where he now allowed the balloon technology to actually bring a brand new way of removing the water that settles around Dig Tiger. That now brought back value to those estates. For me, the quality of Hope's work speaks for itself. Never mind the security issue. That I don't put it to him. I put the security problem squarely at the legs of President Buhari, because the security crisis was as a consequence of Buhari's pet project, which is also known as unknown gunmen. You can see when Buhari left office, the unknown gunmen finished all over the East. Why? President Tinubu didn't want to continue to fund that pet sting operation. And Buhari did it simply as a strategy for him to manufacture evidence as he claimed that the Igbos were involved in terrorism. And when the international body saw that those manufactured evidence could not be trusted, they discarded him. And that was why when Tinubu came, Tinubu refused to continue to fund the sting operation called unknown gunmen. So that's why I really will not put it to Hope. Yes, Hope had his own weaknesses. He didn't have the powers to talk to the federal troops to stop. Of course, we cannot tell Buhari to stop a pet project of his. And that's how we have been so much in insecurity. I don't put that to Hope. I put that to Buhari because Buhari started his problems in the East even while Rochas was still governor. And so that's actually why I would know. So I can't hope on the strength of his infrastructural performances. And that's why I say the Owerri to Oga road was good. Owerri to Umuahia road was beautiful. And Owerri to Okigwe road are the things upon which most people in Imo look to judge the first 4 years of Hope Uzodinma. And I believe this next one will be a better one. I have no doubt the insecurity will go from now on. Now that the police has come in and Tinubu has said fully he would not fund Buhari's sting pet operation called unknown gunmen. That tells me the East will now come to freedom. So for that, I will tell you to look to the second term of Governor Uzodinma. I have no doubt is a man of quality. I have no doubt we can expect more from him.
I mean, he has come out to say that the allegations of the payment of salaries are untrue and that he's up to date with that, and all that was happening with the NLC was politics. But we hope that the people of Imo State, at the end of his term in office, will indeed be able to smile, looking back at his term. Of course, he can't please everyone, we understand that, but that majority of Imolites will look back and say that it was a good term, because at the end of the day, we want what's best for the state. Mr. Ononuju, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.